I've been a radiologist, a fully certified radiologist since 2003, and I started training in radiology in 1998. I just enjoy the fact that it's an exact science. All the pieces of the puzzle are there in front of you and you have to solve the puzzle. It's a very well-defined medical science. I've got quite a few interests. My key interests are abdominal and thoracic radiology, but I've also done a lot of training when I did my fellowship overseas in musculoskeletal radiology, particularly spinal radiology and joint radiology.
I qualified in 1998 and moved to Australia and converted my exams and re-specialised in 2001. Well, it's a fantastic specialty if you have a broad knowledge of medicine. It allows you to not home in on just one specialty. It allows you to be exposed to a range of pathologies and a range of clinicians, and also puts you in the lead of medicine, because radiology is a very advancing field with computers and the CT scanners, etc., that are developing at an incredible rate, and I have very good knowledge of computers and imaging systems, so that's something that I really enjoy. I've been involved with a lot of IT rollouts for imaging across large areas and health systems, and I have a particular interest in computers and that sort of thing. So,
my name's Peter Kitchener. I started off as a kid with a very strong interest in photography, and back at that time the whole processing side of radiology was the same as photographics. And then as a resident of the hospital, I came under the very strong influence of the professor of radiology at the hospital that I was working at, and I just was naturally attracted to his department, and any spare time I had, I would go down there. And it just became a natural progression for me. Look, I'm very passionate about it. And want to keep on doing it for a long time yet. I grew up as a general radiologist, so I can sort of have a look at anything. Over the years, I have taken a stronger interest in spine than most things, and I've done some research previously in spine, but that's not my total focus anymore. About 15-20 years ago, we started to develop an interest in dental radiology as well, and over that time I've learned more about dental work than I had at the start, and I find that interesting also. We look at shadows all day long, and we try and be the shadow detectives and try and work out what it is that we're looking at, what disease process or what's normal, because there's a very wide variation of normal on the one hand, and that's strongly interesting. But the other thing that's happened is that over the time I've been a radiologist, the technology developments have been enormous. And at an early stage in my career, I started to wonder whether I was going to get bored, but then ultrasound developed and CT scans developed and MRI developed, and it just continues. And there's always something new to think about.
I'm Barnabas Becko. I done medicine because I really didn't want to do engineering for my entire life. Then I became a radiologist because I didn't want to get bored with what I'm doing. It's an extremely vast field that I will never get bored with it, and if one day I'm just sick of doing something, I can just move on to the other area. Today I'm interested in specializing in interventional radiology, and tomorrow I can just change and become an MR expert. My baby is really intervention, so I really do procedures as much as possible. But I do general radiology and I enjoy that too, and especially difficult cases that makes me think. So anything that stimulates the grey matter is fine with me.
I qualified in 1998 in South Africa. I then immigrated to Australia and I re-qualified in 2001. I am a general radiologist. I do have an interest in mammography, but I do a lot of CTs and MRs, and particularly with the spine, that helps me a lot, because when I see patients, when I see the spinal x-rays, I know what it's going to look like on CT and on MRI. And that really, really helps me with my diagnosis. I like the fact that I can give the answer to the puzzle. We are the final arbiter, except for the pathologist, but whenever there's a problem with a patient, go to the radiology, we image it in various ways, and we give the clinicians the answer, and I love that.